What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we actually have to talk about two very big pieces of news, which is the fact that Kingdom Hearts 4 was just officially revealed, and Kingdom Hearts 4 actually confirms the Final Fantasy IX Remake is legit, and I want to explain why. Now let's start things off by talking about the fact that this is a big deal for Kingdom Hearts fans in general. It's a big celebration. Today is the 20th anniversary. In fact, I decided to wake up early to watch all the trailers and see all the news. In fact, I actually was up till 6 a.m. watching a bunch of stuff, and so if I look a bit sleepy, I promise it's because I am. I'm actually currently running on Red Bull in absolute anger. Okay, so let's face facts. A lot of people were very disappointed with Kingdom Hearts 3. It was a very different, strange pivot in a way. I didn't hate Kingdom Hearts 3 as much, but my biggest disappointment with it is that it had no Square Enix characters in it. It was just all Disney all the time. I am a giant fan of Final Fantasy specifically, so the fact that they decided to remove Final Fantasy from Kingdom Hearts was a bit of a tone shift. Kingdom Hearts 4, this looks very, very legit. It's part of a new storyline called the Lost Master Arc. Donald and Goofy are continuing their search, and currently, it's based in Unreal Engine 4, and it's about to move over to Unreal Engine 5. In the comments section here, I'm actually going to link the trailer. It is 7 minutes of gloriousness, including this huge fight against a literally giant Heartless. You can see here that Sora suddenly has his non-clown shoes. It seems like a very, very, very different game, and I'm kind of down for that. It feels like a huge shift in tone just in general for the Kingdom Hearts series, and already, even though we don't have any confirmation of what consoles this is coming to and stuff, it seems like a very, very great and rewarding project. I'm just kind of curious whenever something that's been building up as long as this has, because Kingdom Hearts has actually been running one gigantic, extremely confusing story since the early 2000s, and they just recently wrapped this up. If you haven't played Kingdom Hearts, part of the reason their collections are named stupid stuff like 1.5, 2.5 HD Remix Continued Herpes is because they constantly have to try and combine all the different spin-offs and side games that are required. I'm kind of glad about the idea that hopefully Kingdom Hearts 4 is just going to be a normal, straightforward, new take on Kingdom Hearts. But here's why this gets me extremely excited. It's not because of Kingdom Hearts, it's because of Final Fantasy, specifically Final Fantasy IX. So a couple months back, there was a thing that everybody has called the NVIDIA leak. Now, basically what happened is there was a game developer who was working on a project, and he emailed it to NVIDIA, and it accidentally gave him a list of about 80 unreleased games. Now, a lot of these projects at the time seemed completely impossible. Stuff like a Tactics Ogre remaster. Things like God of War on PC, along with Uncharted coming to PC. Things like the Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to PC, and the remaster of Chrono Cross. At this point, every single game that this guy has talked about has come completely true. He even released the list, and Final Fantasy IX Remake was on it. This is the last project that has been talked about but not yet revealed, which is completely bonkers. Final Fantasy IX Remake is something that just boils my brain to even imagine it. Lately, I've been replaying a bunch of Final Fantasy IX, and the game is simply spectacular. If you haven't played Final Fantasy IX, it certainly has what I think is the very best leveling system of any of the Final Fantasies. It has the best style of learning new magic, it's got some of the best side quests, and what's kind of the most impressive to me is that Final Fantasy IX Remake definitely has the darkest story for how cute the art is. It's almost sort of this subterfuge. It's an illusion to have these little chibi characters in the midst of war and chaos. But with this, I think it's starting to stir up the first part of debate as to how they're going to handle the Final Fantasy IX Remake. I think a lot of gamers do appreciate the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's this gap that's driving people crazy. Right now, we are in a dead year, in a way, which is the fact that if you actually look right now at trending hashtags, one of the trending hashtags for hours and hours and hours now has been Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everybody is talking about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's not because they're excited. A lot of this just comes down to the fact that people are waiting for new news. Square Enix decided to break up the original story of Final Fantasy VII into multiple games, but they haven't clarified how many games that's going to be, how many chunks. Is this going to be a trilogy of Final Fantasy VII Remake? Is it going to be 5 games for Final Fantasy VII Remake? And I think that's created a bit of anger with within the community, because it makes it where even if you love these games, even if you think they're completely spectacular, this gap between releases does kind of suck. Like right now, we don't even know, are they going to somehow try and finish this in just 10 games? Are the games going to come out every 3 years? Like, it's weird that this series started on the PlayStation 4 and may actually finish on the PlayStation 7. I mean, we seriously have no idea. So my thought when it comes to the Final Fantasy IX remake is, as much as I love this world, as much as I think it's just glorious, my thought is, what does this actually mean for release schedules? I love Final Fantasy. Part of the biggest times of my life where I'm having the most fun is when it's a new, big, gigantic Final Fantasy game. But what are they planning to do inside of Square Enix? Is the plan to make a new Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 16, the next chapter of the Final Fantasy 7 remake, and to do a chapter of the Final Fantasy 9 remake? Are they going to start doing this 3-year cycle? So it's like new game, remake, remake, new game, remake, remake. I mean, I'm not completely against that idea, but I am a little bit fearful of what if it takes 10 or 20 years to finish all these games? What I'm saying to Square Enix is, before you reveal the Final Fantasy IX remake, I hope you be very, very clear in the messaging. I'm not saying to reveal all the secrets or have this like 20-minute trailer or something like that. I am just saying that as a super fan, what I am hoping for the most is just some clarity. Say, hey, the full experience in the Final Fantasy IX remake. See this world in a way that's never been envisioned before. I'm not saying to crunch it down or cut any of the stuff out. I'm just saying that sometimes shorter is better. Clarity and communication absolutely matter. But what do you guys think about this stuff? Honestly, it's still kind of blowing my mind. I'm not even fully awake, and I'm still just kind of puzzling over the possibilities of the fact that we may get Kingdom Hearts 4 in the next couple of years. Kingdom Hearts 4 is probably coming to current consoles. It's bonkers to think about the fact that it already has combat systems and plot names and stuff. And now, it seems like Final Fantasy IX Remake is probably going to get revealed right after they're done just finalizing Final Fantasy 16. But I guess we're going to find out. What do you think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I am going to go take a slutty nap. You guys rock. Thanks so much for watching, and please keep dreaming.
You did it, Dave.
I did it.
You did it.
I'm still rolling, by the way. I'm putting this at the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.